There are leaders in the world who are made for impact.
I like corporate social responsibility and kind of small business outreach when it comes from leadership wanting to have their business have a bigger impact in whether it's the community or the world, but then narrowing it down to really communicate and understand what that means from their team's perspective, and then allowing it to be driven by the people that want to really drive it and be involved. But I think it has to come from the core of the business. I don't think it works if it's kind of this blanket statement of we should be doing more.
I'm Gretchen Schott, and this is Made for Impact, a show for leaders who want to leave a lasting impact on their organizations, their teams, and their lives.
My guest today is Andrea Ross. She's an entrepreneur, small business advisor, and a life and executive coach. We met through my connections with Cultivate Advisors, where she serves as a business advisor. Prior to joining Cultivate, she founded the award-winning Southeast Asian tourism company, Journeys Within, where she was working with local communities and governments to promote tourism. She sold Journeys Within to Wild Frontiers, and then they started offering trips to over 70 countries around the world. She specializes in customer service, team joy, and outside-the-box marketing, as well as how to incorporate social responsibility and community support into your plans. She's also a mom of 6, and I think you're going to love her stories and really get some new insights on how to take your business into a new realm of social responsibility. Take a listen. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so grateful you said yes.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm really excited to be here and talk about something that's very close to my heart. I'm very passionate about. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So share with my listeners who maybe don't have connection with you yet, who you are, what you do, where you work, all that stuff.
Sure. So who I am, that's always such a big question, right? Like there's so many facets of who we are. I am an entrepreneur. That is kind of how I started in my career and how I went on. I'm a mom and I'm now a business advisor. So I was very lucky to come to work for Cultivate Advisors. Their philosophy is that they want to hire entrepreneurs to coach and advise other entrepreneurs. And I just love that idea, right? It's I've walked in your shoes. I've cried the tears. I've laughed the laughs. Like I've had those experiences that entrepreneurs have every day. And so now I get to work with small business owners all over the world, actually, that are trying to scale and grow their business. And I get to be an advisor for them and a sounding board and a strategic partner and, whatever it is, sometimes a shoulder to cry on, whatever it is that they need as they grow their business and grow in their leadership. And I've been doing that for 2 years now. Prior to that, I lived overseas. Actually, I was in Cambodia for over 10 years. I had 2 of my children were born there and raised there. Sometimes that feels like another lifetime. Like it's like a choose your own adventure. And that was another adventure, but it was an incredible adventure. And the experiences I had there, what I learned there, the impact that the country and the people had on me, it's a huge part of my coaching now, my advising now. It has definitely impacted me. So I think, there's a lot of different facets to who we are, but that's probably how I go about identifying myself, at least from a career perspective.
So I really want to dig into your passion projects and your passion work, because that's kind of, we got connected from a mutual friend and partner. And when we had our conversation around like, hey, would you like to be on the show? It was like 30 minutes, but it could have been like an hour or so. We were like jiving and like, yes, and this and this. So I want to ask you about that topic that was really passionate and exciting for both of us. What is corporate social responsibility? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, sure. And it's so corporate social responsibility, CSR, you'll see it a lot nowadays. It really became kind of the thing in the last couple of decades. But I will say where I see the beauty of it is kind of how CSR started. And it actually started at a grassroots level. It started with small businesses that were really part of their community, seeing a way that they could impact their community. And it then grew, and it was the corporation suddenly had to pay attention because consumers were expecting it. They were looking for it. They wanted to see businesses having an impact on their community, on their life, on their well-being. And I think it spread across everything from how we take care of our employees to how we take care of our communities to how we take care of the world in general. But I love that it kind of started in this grassroots way. And I think for us, it was very similar. We were living in Cambodia. We had all these travelers coming in and taking these amazing tours with us. But then we had this community that we were living in that for a lot of them were living below the poverty line. They were living day to day, a lot of challenges that we in the West don't necessarily have to face.
Yeah.
And a lot of our travelers were saying to us, what can we do to help? And we could see what they could do, right? Because we were living there. We were on the ground. We could see where our employees were having challenges. We could see where the community was having challenges. So we actually started a nonprofit called Journeys Within Our Community. And our first tagline, it's changed since then, it's evolved, but our first tagline was see a problem, solve a problem. And we really wanted to feel like, hey, we're here. We're a small business. We're on the ground. We can see what's necessary, what's needed. We can be the conduit between people who want to help and people that need that help just to get a leg up.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's how CSR started. Corporate social responsibility didn't start in the corporate realm. It really started in the grassroots, small business. Let's see what we can do for our community realm. And now it's grown, and it's actually put pressure on some of these bigger businesses to say, hey, it's not just enough to do business. We need to do business right. So that's kind of how I see corporate social responsibility.
Yeah. I love that you kind of went into those different dimensions of it, the people and our business and the community. And you would probably know better because you advise on this a lot. The idea of having a socially responsible business, I think most businesses can get on board pretty quickly with their people flourishing and taking care of the people like that. And a lot of times I think it kind of like stops there. Then that gets a little bit stuck in, well, because that's about our culture and we're talking about engagement, which is all very important. But that idea of business for good, business making an impact either in, the community you live in or communities beyond. How do you help or how do you advise businesses to really start moving into those other kind of dimensions, making the assumption that they're taking care of their people? If you're not taking care of your people, but you're going to go to Cambodia and go help people in an orphanage, you're going to be out of alignment probably with some values, either the people that work for you or your own. But how do you help businesses maybe think through those other kind of dimensions around social responsibility?
No, I think that's a great question. And I think you're right. The core of this is your people. How do you make sure your people feel heard, feel empowered, those kinds of things? But I think you're also right that we all want to be proud of where we work. We all want to be proud of the impact we have above and beyond just the work we're doing. We want to feel like, hey, I want to shout it from the rooftops. I work from this company and I love it. Right. And as a business owner, we want our employees to feel that way. And so really, when I work with business owners, it's about tapping into the passions of our people and ourselves as well. Right. Because if we're sponsoring something or we're starting a nonprofit ourselves, we have to involve all of our people in that. We have to make them feel empowered, make them proud to be part of it. Everybody likes to have a purpose above and beyond just going to work and doing the 9 to 5 and feeling like we have a bigger impact than our day-to-days sometimes give us. And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, but even just team leaders, right? You don't have to necessarily be a small business owner to have an impact, but as team leaders to really listen to our team and ask, hey, how do we think we can have an impact? How do we think we can step outside our comfort zone potentially and help our community? What should that look like? By bringing that feedback in, we've now engaged our employees even more. We are upping our retention. We're upping our employee satisfaction. All those things are going up. And what you'll get from it is great ideas as well, right?
Yeah.
You'll have the people who are like, well, actually, I've been volunteering here for 5 years. This organization is incredible. And I think we could support it by doing X, Y, Z. Now you're getting the team really involved in that. Or if you as a business owner have a passion, how do you help your team see why you have that passion, right? The why behind it, the excitement behind it. And you might then get them feeling a little more connected to you as well. So yeah, I think it's communication, right? Things always seem to boil down to communication.
Yes.
But it's communicating with our team and understanding how they want to have an impact, what they want their purpose to be, how they want to feel empowered, and then deciding, do we do this as a team? Do we do this individually, but I help support that? That's really up to you as the business owner. But I think it's communicating with your employees and seeing what the need is.
Yeah. How would you advise business owners that maybe have a really strong culture and they probably have things in place like a culture committee where the culture committee is responsible for, keeping the employees engaged and providing opportunities. And maybe you have individuals that, we're doing this service project in our community. We're doing this service project in our community. We're doing this. And we're taking care of the dogs over here. And then we're going to build bicycles here. And, we're going to go contribute to the veterans over here. And all of those things, while good and kind of speak into what you're saying, it's like get in front of your employees. And so you have all these things your employees are doing. But when you really think about the impact, like how do you help business owners kind of streamline all these good efforts into something that actually allows them that level of impact that speaks to the story of your company versus we do a lot of really great things for a lot of great places. And it's all the stuff our employees want to do, which I'm not saying that's bad, but because I think a lot of businesses start that way. But then it also is like, we're doing the dog thing, this year again, or we're going to build the bicycles again. What would you say to a business owner that's like, I got a culture committee and that's kind of what we do. So what should they do to maybe make this a little bit more tied into a bigger impact?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, a great way of looking at it. And what I would say is kind of my answer to any business related question like that is, hey, we've got to have a strategy, right? And that strategy needs to come from a place of what works for our business, what makes sense for our business. So I've seen some very successful models where businesses say, hey, employees, you can volunteer a number of hours a month and you will get that as PTO, right? That's keeping it very broad. Are we strategically aligning on where we're giving our time as an organization? No, we're saying if you want to go coach AYSO soccer, go coach AYSO soccer. If you want to go volunteer at the Humane Society, great, go do that. That's more about giving our team, showing our team that we value their contributions to the community.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay. I think the way I felt about it when I ran my company was I really wanted it to be strategically aligned with what we were doing already. And what I saw in terms of my own experience was my travelers really wanting to feel connected. So my theme really was, how do we connect our travelers and their financial support to the projects and their financial need? And that was the strategy. Because to me, what I wanted to get out of it was my travelers feeling more connected to the communities we were a part of and being able to see their money put to work. Because now we haven't talked about some of the challenges of corporate social responsibility, but one of them is that it can be a lot of lip service and not a lot of action. And I came in really saying, no, if somebody's going to donate money to a cause, to a problem that we're seeing, I want them to go and see the solution. So we had people donate a clean water well, visit Cambodia and go and visit that well, meet the family that now has access to clean water. So now you're having this incredible community experience, this incredible traveler experience that you wouldn't have had without that fiscal responsibility, or giving back to the community. You wouldn't have had that. So you got that as kind of your return on the investment you're putting into this community. That was my strategy. That doesn't mean that has to be every organization's strategy, right? I have an amazing client who has a company and then also has a nonprofit. The nonprofit does gardens, community growing plans, and he's an engineering company. So are they strictly aligned? No, not necessarily, but the engineering company believes in how we use space is important.
Yeah.
And how we use space for our community is important. So that is an offshoot of that. So to me, it's how do we align our strategy with what's going to be best for our team and what's going to be best for us. So like I said, I'm not against the approach of like, hey, each of you gets to go do whatever makes your heart sing in terms of giving back. Animal shelter, food kitchen, whatever works. Or saying, hey, as an organization, this is something that's very valuable to us, right? In Cambodia, it was our community. It was giving back. It was feeling like we could have an impact and help those come out of an unhealthy situation. And now I'm going to bring my clients in on that. So it really just has to do with having a strategy. And I think so often we sit down and come up with a strategy for marketing, a strategy for sales, but it's not always in our brain to come up with a strategy for corporate social responsibility. And I think it needs to be. So what I would say to the cultural committee is, what is going to be best for our team? How do we want to approach this in a way that's going to empower as many people as possible? Is there a way that we can include our clients in this so they get empowered and excited and feel more connected to us, and really think it through strategically, and then say, okay, how does this impact us financially? How does this impact us from a marketing perspective? How does this change our sales perspective? Because if you can build your CSR programs into every facet of your business, it's going to be more sustainable. And in the end, that's, I think, the biggest challenge with corporate social responsibility is, how do we make it sustainable, especially for a small business that might not just have money we can throw at problems, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we make this sustainable so it lasts as long, or if not longer, than our business does?
Right. What would you say are other challenges, especially for like small or mid-sized businesses wanting to do this kind of work, wanting to create impact, as maybe kind of like as you're thinking about this, be aware or plan for, like, what would those challenges be?
I mean, time. It's always time, right? Like, I just think anytime you say, why is this a challenge for small businesses? The number one answer is usually because they don't have time. Everybody is working really hard. Everybody's wearing multiple hats. And it's not always easy to say, okay, we're going to spend a day talking about this, or even an afternoon, right? Like, who has that kind of time? So I think the biggest challenge is finding the time to do it. And then I think the biggest challenge is creating something that's sustainable, that can go on with, before, without you. What does that look like? And then obviously there's the challenge of engagement. How are we going to engage our team? How are we going to engage our community? How are we going to engage our clients? And just thinking that through, I think, can be challenging, because those are a lot of different players and they are going to be engaged very differently. So we need to think through, how do we speak to each of them?
I love that idea, though, of thinking about how can we include our clients, because so much of the reason why we're so busy and we don't have time for this is because we're trying to get clients or keep the clients, right? Yeah. And so thinking about this as an important strategy to elevate and grow our business and how we can bring clients into it, then it doesn't feel like a distraction, and it doesn't feel like a selfish type of initiative, because it's actually going to serve the business that we're trying to either attract or keep, right?
No, I love that. It's a great point. And I think that, to me, was the biggest surprise. I think when I started my nonprofit, I like to think I started my nonprofit very altruistically. We were living in Cambodia. We were in this community. They had welcomed us with open arms, and we wanted to give back. What I didn't see coming was how it helped with sales, how it helped us get new clients, how it helped us get new employees. I mean, it ended up having such a good karma, let's say. It gave us good karma that really made me realize that while we think starting any kind of corporate social responsibility plan is going to take a ton of time and a ton of money, actually the return on that is real. And you can track that return. And I think sometimes it becomes almost a dirty word of being like, I want to get an ROI on my corporate social responsibility, right? Yeah. You almost feel like, I don't know that I should say that. Right. But I think you should, because I think that's when it becomes sustainable. When we can do something and say, hey, every time I sent out, we used to laugh. I would send out my newsletters every month. I'd get some nice comments back. I would send out my nonprofit newsletter quarterly, and I would get bookings from it. Wow. Almost guaranteed. Wow. Right. And it wasn't a sales piece. It was just hey, let us tell you what we're doing in our community. We wanted to update you on this project. And people would write and say, man, it's so cool what you're doing there. We really want to travel with you. Can we start planning a trip? Wow. Right. And that was a learning for me. I would like to say I had thought that all through and been brilliant, but I hadn't. It was definitely a value added. I was excited when it happened. That's what I tell my clients now is, don't be afraid to yell what you're doing from the rooftops. Celebrate it with your clients, because for the right client, it's going to resonate with them. They're going to want to work with you more, and you're actually going to start seeing an ROI on that social impact you're having.
When I got introduced to you, I think I was sharing with you a little bit about, my interest in employee engagement and talking through, you have to have
Yes.
both loyal and satisfied employees, focusing really on their personal growth to get them fully engaged in your business and in your culture. When I shared that with you, I remember you talking about, well, oh my gosh, like there's so much employee retention and you can demonstrate ROI with this kind of work. And so what kinds of ways have you seen that with maybe clients that you advise or even in your own business?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give for people listening to this to kind of align those two things?
The truth is, employees want to feel like they have a purpose. They want to feel like they're having an impact above and beyond their day to day. So if we're able to really strategize as business owners and come up with the right project and program that's going to engage our team, engage our community, and engage our clients, you're going to see higher client retention. You're going to see higher employee retention. Employees want to feel like they're part of something bigger and better than themselves. They want to be proud of where they work. They want to be proud of the impacts they're personally having, but the organization is also having. And I think if you can get employees feeling that way, they're going to stay. They're going to want to continue to work with you. I also think that when we do these social impact projects or have nonprofits, the employee also feels like they can be part of it. They also feel connected to that project, to those people, to their community. And I think that expands their feeling of purpose within the organization as a whole and often empowers them to speak up in other settings, right? If they've come in and felt empowered in a giving back situation, maybe they volunteered that weekend and felt really good about it and they were part of the team and they got to know their coworkers better and they got to know their boss a little better on a more personal level, that trust is being created, that rapport is being created, you're going to increase employee retention because now this feels like their community. We've created a community within our organization for them to feel a part of.
When we think about all of this and the saying of like, we measure what matters, right? What are some like key performance indicators that you would focus on to track like success of these types of programs? Or what have you seen others maybe that you're advising that have used as KPIs to track success with this?
It's hard. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, this is one of the easy things to track. I actually think it's a harder thing to track. One of the biggest things I've seen is employee satisfaction surveys, right? So taking those NPS scores of our employees, understanding how they're feeling about their role. And then when we start putting these things in place, we can judge again. We can send out another survey and see if it's gone up, if happiness, purpose, if those things have gone up. I'm a big believer in setting a baseline, right? So often we'll start a new project or say, okay, great. This year, one of our big goals is to launch a corporate social responsibility campaign, or we're going to create a committee that's going to come up with some ways we can be part of this. And I think often we then don't do the base KPIs. Where are our employees now? How do our clients feel about us now? And then we put in this corporate social responsibility program, and then we judge again. How do we feel about us now? Have you felt more engaged because of the volunteering we're doing? Like however we want to put that, but really making sure we know what the baseline is, because otherwise it's very hard to know how far we've come because we didn't know where we were. So I think that's part of it. The second thing I would say, and this goes back to what we were talking about, which is strategy, is, hey, this could impact sales. This could impact our marketing. I would want to know, are we getting talked about in the press for the work we're doing? If yes, have we gotten clients from that? Have we gotten more employees from that, right? People wanting to work for us because they see us out there in the community. So I think thinking through from a sales perspective, a marketing perspective, and a recruiting perspective, where are we now? What's our baseline? And after we start these programs and we start to create this environment and this community, then are we seeing an impact there? I like corporate social responsibility and kind of small business outreach when it comes from leadership wanting to have their business have a bigger impact in whether it's the community or the world, but then narrowing it down to really communicate and understand what that means from their team's perspective, and then allowing it to be driven by the people that want to really drive it and be involved. But I think it has to come from the core of the business. I don't think it works if it's kind of this blanket statement of we should be doing more, right? I think it only works when it comes from we should be doing more. Here's how we're going to approach this. Here's what the goals are. How are we going to get there? Just like we would any other initiative we'd put together for our company. And I think sometimes we treat it differently, but it's just like any new sales initiative, any new product we were going to launch. It should follow the same strategy.
Yeah. Such a great conversation. If people want to reach out to you, Andrea, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, email is great. I'm at Andrea@cultivateadvisors.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or social, any of those platforms. But yeah, shoot an email over and I'd love to connect with people, even if it's just a one-off to talk through, hey, I'm trying to launch this community development program, or gosh, I really want to go green in my office, but I don't really know how to approach that. I'm always happy to sit down and kind of strategize about how we approach these things and what that should look like. Because it can feel really daunting, right? As a business owner, it's more time, more money but at the same time, we have this gut feeling of like, man, I want to be doing more. I want to feel like I'm having this bigger impact. How do I do that? And so I'm always happy to sit down and just talk that out and come up with because every business is different. Every way of wanting to have that impact is a little bit different. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that we can all have our own personal way that we impact the world from an entrepreneurial perspective.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. I appreciate it. What a great opportunity to chat.
What a fascinating interview. I loved what she said about creating strategy within your business for how we're giving our time, for how we're giving our money. I loved her kind of like 4 takeaways in going into this work and asking yourself, like, what's best for the organization? What's going to have the biggest impact and the most impact for our team? Can we include our clients in this? And then how does this impact our finance efforts, our sales efforts, our marketing efforts? I loved also what she said about creating baselines and, where are we now and where do we want to get to? And how do our customers see us now? And how do we want our customers to see us when we get there? Just really great nuggets. I thought it was so helpful for us to start thinking about our businesses in such a different way. Are you getting my monthly newsletter? I hope so. But if not, make sure you sign up to get my monthly newsletter where I go deeper into these topics and share a little bit of wisdom on how you and others are making an impact on me. If you haven't followed the show, please do so. I'm also trying to get more reviews of the show. I have a goal of 200 reviews by the end of the year. So take a moment right now, leave us a review, leave us some stars, and let us know what you think. Let us know how we can improve the content, and more importantly, let us know the content that's really resonating with you. Because I want you to remember, no matter what, you are made for impact.